All right, Google Hangouts does still work, and this is Lock and Load. We're live, and we're going to talk about all kinds of things, Hollywood hypocrites attacking Trump, and I guess America in general. But first I want to introduce my panelist from Gun Channel, Squid, who is a Marine Corps person, right?
Yeah, it's active duty Marines about 20, 25 years ago. Once a Marine, always a Marine.
Yes, sir. Well, thanks for fighting for America. And speaking of fighting for America, I just, after the whole Meryl Streep thing that, I got to say everybody, including Fox News, just totally missed the point, especially O'Reilly. Either he's willfully ignorant or just ignorant. But the problem with Hollywood is that, it's like, well, Trump is like, getting all these, tweeting at car companies, getting them to build their cars in America, saving Carrier. But in Hollywood, they fired everybody. And they sent all the jobs overseas, except for the actresses, like Meryl Streep, people like that. They get $20 million as a signing fee because their face, being the lead actor in a film, helps put butts in the seats of the movie theaters. But what the companies that pay them, these amounts of large money, and what happened was a couple things, but I'll start off with bitching at all the film companies and accounting departments and Technicolor. A lot of people have probably heard about Technicolor out there, but what they did one day about, 1995 or something. I don't know, when did I move to Hawaii? Something like that. And part of why I moved to Hawaii was because Technicolor went and their accounting department called up every major film company's accounting department and said, we want to give you a 10 or 15% rebate check at the end of every year. Just give the film company a big check, for 10 or 15% of your entire post-production billing of your entire corporation. And all you have to do, and then won't that make you look good? Like if you worked in the accounting department and you got such a call, they want to give your corporation a check that you work for, well, that'll make you look good if you show up to your boss, at the film company, and said, oh, look, they just gave us a big check, right? Technicolor just sent us a huge check. All you have to do to earn this check is give us all of your post-production work. It's on a letter of intent that you will give every department will send us all their post-production work. So what happened was one film company signed it. I don't know for sure who was first, if it was Sony, Columbia, if it was Fox, or, but most of them signed this letter. And so basically every department, no matter who they were, was forbidden from sending any work to any other company except Technicolor. So there were companies that, I know a guy, Crest National Films on Highland in Hollywood. It's his father, started out in 1920 with a moviola, and they had built up a $100 million facility in duplication and digital color correction and all kinds of film digital processing that I didn't even understand what the hell it was, and I was an expert, and it was just this huge monster company, and they went out of business that week that they signed the contract because there was no point. And all these, and how Technicolor actually could afford to give a rebate check for 10% is they sent almost everything that they got overseas. They shipped the entire industry to other countries, everything, and specifically my niche, but I don't want to get into what my niche was right now. They fired everybody. And before that even happened, there was people like Barry Diller. They called him Killer Diller. Before that whole thing where the accounting departments, the plague of the film company, anyway, Diller went in there and basically they looked at every department individually instead of looking at the film company as a whole. And when Diller was at Fox, he went in there, and if your particular department, whatever it was, wasn't turning a big profit, they didn't just fire the head of the department or the people that worked in the department or trim it down. They just closed down the whole fucking department. So if they had all the craftspeople were just shit out of luck, if you were a pipe fitter, a costume wardrobe designer, if you were a carpenter, you know, you were just closed down. You know, you just lost your job. Everybody was fired. It's like you look at an airplane and says, well, we really don't need the landing gear, you know, because it costs money to, you know, fly the landing gear. That stuff is heavy, right? You know, so they just took off the landing gear and they kept going, you know. So basically, they don't even make films hardly in Hollywood anymore. But, you know, I don't know how far you back down the rabbit hole. But for this $20 million a film actress to get up there, you know, and the people who pay her, you know, have fired everybody. I mean, if anybody from the Trump administration listens to this, they ought to go back and to like 1995 or whatever year every film company got a big multi-million-dollar check from Technicolor. And then they just look at they sent you a $10 million check this year for a rebate? That's your new tax bill. And then add it up for every fucking year, you know, because they didn't just close down. I mean, Technicolor has no competition. If they were to say, okay, we're never going to hire Technicolor again because they did this bad thing, there's nobody left standing. There's nobody left to hire instead of Technicolor, you know? And, you know, they literally did it all by sending most of it overseas, except for, I mean, Technicolor is mostly, you know, film duplication, you know, and when they used to have film, you know, now everything's pretty much digital, you know, digital cameras and all. But, you know, they closed down. So before they had like closed down every department and then at the film companies, and then they closed down, you know, every ancillary company that, you know, made a living doing contracting for all the departments that had been closed down, you know, which is what I did, you know, but, you know, so that's when I moved to Hawaii. It's like, well, shit, I'll just move to Hawaii. Fuck this shit, you know, and I'll live on the beach there because it's cheaper than in Malibu, you know. And it's so, I mean, it's just, if Trump wants to do something, he should just go and look at Technicolor's, because they have to enter in their accounting, you know, returns. If they get a $10 million check from Technicolor, they'll have to justify it, that deposit somehow, to not pay taxes on it. Like, we don't owe taxes because it's a rebate, but here's the check that we deposited for $10 million from Technicolor. And they'll say, okay, you got that by firing everybody, and you put the entire post-production industry, like $100 million, this guy, Ron Stein, whose father started with the movie Ola on Highland. I mean, he had a $100 million investment in that company. He just closed up. And there's a lot of companies that are like that just closed up because of Technicolor and the goddamn accountants at the film companies. So they ought to just send the bill to the accounting department at the film companies. They ought to send them a tax bill for whatever the rebate check was. and you know, O'Reilly, you won't hear this on O'Reilly's show because he works for Fox. They're just as fucking guilty as everybody else. I mean, they fired everybody, and, you know, it's Hollywood, you know. It would be uncool for somebody to say this that doesn't know, you know, but, you know, I don't give a shit. They can all kiss my ass, you know. I mean, it's like, you know, the accounting departments, you know, and I mean, you know, it used to be where you could go to a film company and get, you know, an apprenticeship. If you want to be, you know, be into costumes, you could go as an apprenticeship and start doing all the shitty jobs that the you know, whatever they would give you, doing anything for almost nothing, and you could work for years, and then eventually you would get a shot, you know. And, you know, whether it was carpentry or whatever it was, pyrotechnics or a cinematography, I mean, they closed down every fucking department. So as a result, a lot of films you see are you know, financed, you know, by European companies like Regency, and they make the films, and you know, the executives at the film companies are proud. They say, well, we've got this lean, mean distribution machine. But if all the film companies close down tomorrow, you know, the majors, it wouldn't, I mean, you know, the theaters would still be up, you know. I mean, you know, if Trump sent them a tax bill so big that they just couldn't afford to pay it and had to close down, those films would still get shown in the theaters. It just wouldn't be distributed by a major film company. Right now, major film companies just get a percentage for handling the distribution, which is about the only department that they didn't fire. Because when you walk into a distribution company, the distribution department of a film company, and they're making like, okay, we're paying like, $1 million to run this distribution company, and they're bringing in like $1 billion a week or something, something stupid, like for Rogue One or something, But I'll get into the Lucasfilm mess, which was, when the legal department fucked up at Fox, which is my family would be a lot richer if they didn't. But what happened in Lucasfilms and Star Wars was, and why most of the rest of all the other films after the first one wasn't as good as like, A New Hope, the very first Star Wars film, was that some lawyer at 20th Century Fox who wrote the agreement forgot to put in the clause giving 20th Century Fox the rights to the sequel, which is a standard clause in any, if a major film company finances your film, they're going to want the rights to see the sequel. It's just, they're paying the money. They want the rights to the sequel if they're going to finance your film. That's just normal. But some idiot lawyer didn't put in the clause. So guess who made all the money on the rest of the Star Wars films? Not the people that worked at Fox, because some idiot lawyer got fired, after, they woke up and they after they saw how much money the original Star Wars made, and then they're like, oh shit. And then, George Lucas was in charge of it. And Rupert Murdoch, who didn't know shit about the film industry, he kept trying to fire the chief operations officer of Fox, all the time. He fired him like 100 times. And one time he fired him and he said, this time I really mean it. So the very next day there was an article in the Hollywood Reporter and in Variety, I think. And the article was a little blurb that says, George Lucas is leaving 20th Century Fox, no more Star Wars film. And the chief of operations, Tom Sherrick, was hired back the very next day, like less than 24 hours after he fired him. And George Lucas came back to Fox. So, Rupert Murdoch has said that he does not understand the film industry. And I promise you, these goddamn Hollywood hypocrites don't understand that. All they know is they get paid $20 million to act and read the lines, and they have good timing. They're good at their jobs, or they, but mostly they can put butts in seats at the movie theater because people know who they are, and and that's what they get paid for. But everybody else in the industry got fucked. So anyway, here's my lock and load sound. I forgot. All right. Because I've been just, and they've done this to every industry. It's not just the film industry. It's just every other industry. But, so, and O'Reilly didn't report it, and, nobody reported it. But it's not just cars, it's every industry. And the film industry is no exception. In California, well, I have a lot of problems with California, but this is one of them. They didn't give a rat's ass about production flight. They would get the governor to say something about it once in a while, but the production is gone, the post-production is gone. Everybody at the film company's been fired, and all the companies that used to make a living. I wonder if anybody even works at Junior's Delicatessen anymore that everybody from Fox used to go to. But I mean everybody. So when you see an actor or an actress get up there on some awards stage, and start ranting about, they don't like who got elected president. Well, there's a lot of people that got fired who don't give a shit, what you think about anything, Meryl Streep. And while I'm talking about actresses I don't like, let me bring up Tracy Ullman. Fuck you, Tracy Ullman. That's it. Okay, on that one. Anyway, one time I worked as a driver on her show, driving her costume people around, and there are no more costume people that work there, at least, not in any costume department. There is no costume department on the lot at Fox. And there's pretty much nothing on the lot at Fox. I met Don Bassman when I was just starting out. He was the guy who mixed the sound for The Hunt for Red October. And to illustrate what I'm saying, somebody explained to me that the reason that Don Bassman was still the sound department was still there, including this Daryl Zanuck mixing stage and everything, is because Don Bassman got paid $1 million is just a mixing fee to mix the film, because the film producers know that if he mixed their film, it would come out right. So I'm not counting the rental of the mixing stage or anybody else that worked on it, just him. He made $1 million just to mix the damn thing. The Hunt for Red October and any film, his fee was $1 million every time, and he was like a mixing star. So I was into audio. I met with him, like he was nice enough to take me around, but somebody explained to me exactly why he's still there, and so when, Killer Diller came and fired everybody, he couldn't close down the sound department, even though a lot of the sound department was antiquated, and I mean ancient, I mean moviolas they still had moviolas, when I was a kid, and all their sound effects were on moviolas, and I made the mistake when I was there talking to an Academy Award winning sound editor who cut films on moviolas, saying, me being a synthesizer kid, how old was I back then? 22? Oh, God, I don't remember being that young hardly. And I said, gee, all this gear looks ancient. And everybody in the sound department turned around and they just all knew I was right, but they were paranoid as fuck because they knew that gear was ancient, but I mean, it still worked. And they knew what they were doing, and I didn't. Except, I knew I could do technically things that they couldn't do, but that they could make films, and I didn't know what the hell I was doing compared to any of them. So, just because I could work a bunch of keyboards and do sampling and shit. But anyway, so Trump's president, but I mean, these people, especially actresses, they don't know anything. They just read the lines that somebody else wrote, and some of them may have been reading a teleprompter, and so, and O'Reilly didn't say anything about, the entire film industry fired everybody, because then, maybe Trump would send them a bill. Okay, it's like he wanted us to have a 35% tax on any car that got sent over from Mexico. But what about films that don't get made here anymore? Films that get made in Canada because they get tax credits for post-production up in Canada or in Europe. I mean, it's just, where do you start? I mean, and we wouldn't lose anything if they just shut down the film companies because nobody works there anymore. It's just some offices with some, there's still some sound stages that are there that they built like eons ago. But I mean, nobody really works there, and it used to be that corporations employed people, and they get 401ks, and people could fund their kids' college, expenses and stuff, and they fired everybody, and all the ancillary businesses, thanks to Technicolor, were shut down. So anyway, I'm pretty much ready to talk about guns and stop and prepping. I got a new Bofang radio, and what was I going to say about California's new ban on? They're banning semi-automatic rifles in California. Well, to paraphrase General MacArthur, there is no substitute for a semi-automatic rifle. Squib, please talk about guns and save me. I'm just so pissed that nobody is paying any attention to actually. I mean, they'll talk about the star, on the stage, but the whole industry just it's been shipped overseas completely, Anyway.
Well, I'd like to talk about guns, but I think, excuse me, I think I should bring up that your talk about the Hollywood industry, the movie making, TV making, film making industry has parallels with the automotive industry. And the reason I can say that is I'm here in the Detroit area. Okay, this is a motor city. Hollywood is where films are from. Southeast Michigan is where cars are from. Yes, they shoot films in Canada and overseas, and they've got studios in Chicago and Atlanta and stuff like that. And yes, they build cars down in Louisville, Kentucky, and down in Mexico and overseas. And Ontario's got a big auto industry as well. But Hollywood is the heart of the film industry. Detroit is the heart of the auto industry. And if you don't live there, if you're not from there, if you haven't grown up there, been around it, the people from there, you don't know what's going on. So if you're in another state, you have no idea that things have happened in the film industry in Southern California, or what's going on in the auto industry in Southeast Michigan. And just like there were good paying jobs for people in the film industry, there used to be good paying jobs for people in the auto industry. These are the types of jobs you can raise your families in safe neighborhoods on, you can send your kids to college on, and you can retire on with pensions. And these are good jobs for hardworking Americans. This is what America was built on.
Yeah, and it supported all the industries, like if there was a coffee shop or a place where everybody would go and, have their breakfast, and or lunch break,
All of it trickles down. And see, you have insight into that because you were in that industry and you were living there and you saw it with your own eyes. I've been in the auto industry since 1995, since I got out of the military. So I've been in it for, 22 years? My family's been here since the 60s in the auto industry. Everybody around here is in the auto industry in one way or another. There's a few people that aren't, but they depend on the people in the auto industry for their living. The nurse at the hospital depends on that guy who retired from GM, who's got the pension and the health care from his retirement plan, to go to the hospital, and that's how she makes her money, and so on and so forth. So in the same way, there's a lot of parallels. And when a lot of car companies started sending stuff down to Mexico or sending stuff to Canada, or even people stopped buying American cars because they had such a bad rep decades ago, and they're buying all these cheap foreign cars, it was awful hard to bring it back. And there were people that counted on getting out of high school and going to work at a factory with a decent job they could retire off of, and that wasn't there anymore. And I can tell you that the quality control for the cars made overseas is lousy. Being in the industry, I see it constantly. We spend an arm and a leg trying to send Americans overseas to try to show them how to make cars, or spend an arm and a leg air expediting parts back and forth to try to keep the plants from shutting down. It's a mess. And the people who want to say the German cars are better than the American cars, there's just as many German cars go in the back of the dealership on the hook as there are American cars going in the back, and with warranty issues and you name it. People don't think about the little people. They don't think about the people who make the films happen. Like you were talking about all the post-production work. That's lots and lots of jobs. Just like all the people, just because you don't work at GM doesn't mean you don't work at a factory that makes parts for GM that's right down the street. It's the same difference. So in these actors and actresses sound to me like these auto execs that come in here, they restructure, they suck the company dry for money, they get a golden parachute, they move on to the next one, and all the employees are left there holding the ball, and the plant closes and the jobs go overseas, and the guy doesn't care because he's got millions and millions and he's set. The actors, and just like you were saying, the movies would still show in the movie theater, cars would still sell at the dealership, whether they're American cars or foreign cars. People wouldn't go, oh crap, we can't buy cars. There'd still be cars to buy out there. But around here, the whole buy American thing is really prevalent. And I'm surprised that there isn't some movement in California where, film American. I don't know.
They tried that, but, and they could get the governor to speak, give lip service to it, but nothing ever really happened, it was, but, the thing about the film theater is the worse the economy gets, the more people will go to the movies because it's an escape,
Well, yeah, but when the economy went bad, the auto industry was one of the first ones to crash. Then the tourism industry and so on and so forth.
In the Depression, in the Great Depression, I mean...
Well, I wasn't talking about that. I was just talking about a couple of years ago.
Yeah, I just meant to say that in the Great Depression, I mean, the film industry, people would still go to movies. It was their only escape from, the hardships of real life, and it still is to a certain degree, but, and it's just... what was so funny about my particular niche, which is slightly off of the topic, which was like I was doing foreign language dubbing, which I was like a subcontractor with my studio making like less than minimum wage, and eventually when I cut out 2 of the subs and, moved up the chain, I started making real money. But I did foreign language dubbing of movies, and it was really funny. Is that no matter how good we did it, in what they did in Europe is they assigned specific actors to specific voice actors or actors to the specific actors, American actors, Hollywood actors. So like, Arnold Schwarzenegger has a specific voice that's assigned to him on every movie. So no matter what we did, if somebody heard the voice that they weren't used to hearing in Europe, in German or Italy or Spain or France, you're like, wait a minute, that's not Arnold Schwarzenegger. But the voice that they are used to hearing isn't Arnold Schwarzenegger either. They're so fucking stupid. I mean, but I actually met some of the assigned voices. I met because see, all these people was really funny, and this is inside baseball, but it's like I met the voice that was the assigned for Tom Hanks. His name is in France. His name was John Paul. He's like the Shakespearean trained actor, and he was so talented. It was amazing. And I mean, he could literally look at 2 or 3 pages of the script that we wrote in French to go on whatever movie we were doing, and he would, after like 30 seconds reading it, he'd throw away the script because he just memorized everything. And nobody does that. We do one loop at a time, one line at a time, and he would just like, do 5 minutes of the movie, all at once. But in France, he's like Harrison Ford. He can't even go shopping without being mobbed. But they want it to be in America. These people they don't want to be in France because they want to be on an actual Hollywood film. And they don't even make films in Hollywood, and they don't even do dubs in Hollywood, but they can meet agents who can get them on films in Hollywood. And so they wanted to be here doing these dubs. But, when Technicolor got a hold of everything, they made specific deals. I mean, actually, I met the vice president of Sony who flew over to Europe, and one of the vice presidents, and I had bought her lunch, and we talked about it, And she asked me, well, can you do theatrical dubs? And I'm like, well, I can do dubs that are just as good as the theatrical dubs, but no, because I don't have most of the actors live in the European countries, and and if I do it, some idiot will say, oh, look, that's not Tom Hanks, or that's not Arnold Schwarzenegger, or whoever it is, because they're used to hearing a certain voice, even though it's not the actual person, If they hear Clint Eastwood without the French voice or the German voice or the Castilian Spanish voice they're used to hearing, then they'll say, wait a minute, there's something wrong, So, but I don't know. I dubbed 150 movies, and eventually Technicolor, it was illegal pretty much if you worked at a major film company to send it to anybody but Technicolor, and Technicolor sent it all overseas. Nothing was done in-house except for some duplication. And so it just got impossible to contract anything, and but that was my particular niche, but it wasn't just me, it was everybody. I mean, Crest went down, when Crest National Films went down, that was like one of the top 3 gigantic post-production houses in LA, and they all went down because of Technicolor and the goddamn accounting departments, so anyway.
Well, even Michigan was guilty of stealing from Hollywood. When the auto industry took a crash a few years ago, when the economy went down and everybody was falling apart, we were convincing Hollywood to send people out here, and there were all kinds of people trying to get back to work because everybody was out of work and losing their houses and stuff like that. And people were learning how to do stuff in the film industry, or they could ply their trade. If they were an electrician or a carpenter or something like that, they could build sets. They were turning old auto factories around here into filming studios. And then when Michigan told Hollywood, okay, we gave you some tax breaks to get you in here, but now we don't want to give you the tax breaks because we need the revenue, they left for Louisiana and Mississippi. So, I mean, everybody's guilty of picking.
The accountants makes these decisions. That it's nobody but the accountant that will make this decision. It's not the person you're talking to at the film company. It's not the person that gave you the contract. It's the accounting department will make the decisions.
There's bean counters in the auto industry that do the same thing, and they're very inefficient practices where they cause Americans to lose their jobs, and it's all about saving 5 cents on the assembly line, which a million parts later adds up to something, and somebody gets to keep their job. But 500 other people lose their job.
That's why I'm saying just shut the fucking film companies down. We don't need them. They're just distribution companies now.
Well, no, but wouldn't it be
anybody could do it?
Wouldn't it be great to bring it back though? Bring it back to America. Get people working over there again.
Yeah, it would be. But the only way to do that would be to shut down the film companies and start over and let independents do it. Because independents are in charge of making the films now. Film companies don't do shit. They bought Lucasfilms because it was a successful franchise, but like I said, that was merely by a lawyer's idiotic stupidity in drawing up a contract where he forgot to give, a major film company, the sequel rights to the original.
Well, I think just in the same way that most people don't live in and around the film industry, most people don't live in and around the auto industry, so they don't know the ins and outs of both industries, and they don't understand why it's important to have Americans working. And it's a global economy, okay? We have to deal with other countries. We're going to buy and sell stuff to and from other countries. But we need to have a strong American workforce, a middle-class workforce. We need to have people who don't go and get master's degrees and PhDs who can afford to feed a family of 4 and send their kids off to school, and
absolutely,
or at least be able to, drive around in decent American-made cars, live in decent houses and decent neighborhoods, and be able to do nice stuff for their kids, like take family vacations in America and do things like pay for their after-school sports and stuff like that, instead of living off of government welfare and being told, sorry, you don't have a college degree, so you can't get a job.
And I mean, even the sandwich shops, all my dubbers used to go down to the same sandwich shop, and people from Disney would go, and NBC would go to the ones. I mean, every little ancillary business, good luck running a business when everybody else is at the big corporations have been fired. It's just.
So the actors get the time in front of the camera, and they're not affected by it. But all of us regular people are, but we just don't know because we're not in and around the industry, and we have no idea. We just see what they say on TV or see what they tweet.
And the thing is, O'Reilly should know this shit because he worked at Fox long enough that he should know. Either he doesn't want to see it, or he just didn't want to trash the entire film. He works for Fox. They're just as guilty as everybody else,
But I'm on board with if Trump wants to bring back middle class jobs to America, not just to get Americans back to work, but to show the world that we're still number one, and also for strategic purposes. In the long run, having an industry here is good for strategic purposes. If there was ever some sort of massive conflict like World War II again.
How it started, the film industry? I mean, all those big producers, they were all in the military Army Signal Corps. All the big directors, John Huston, who was John Wayne's big director that did all of his films, Stagecoach and everything else. Who was somebody out there? Tell me, my brain isn't working.
You got me. I'm not a movie guy, but I'm just saying that
where's my dad when I need him?
I'm for a policy that allows there to be a strong middle class again, that allows America to show the world we make the best planes, we make the best cars, we can make the best electronics, we make the best guns, we make the best. We're the ones that landed on the moon. We're the ones that we're unfortunately we're the police force for the world, unfortunately, but I'm okay with it. Now, let's just see how well his policies work. Okay, let's give him a chance. Let's give him some time.
Well, I hope John Ford.
Thank you, Dan. Brings the jobs back would be great. And then let's just see how well it works out. Then we can judge him. But until then, these people need to just hold off.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Dano, out there on the gunchannels.com/HVS chat. John Ford is who I was thinking of. You're absolutely right. But I just hope somebody from his administration listens to this chat and does something about Hollywood. Because if you want to save California, I mean, you have to start with the damn film industry, and you aren't going to get their attention unless you give them a big ass bill and present it to tax bill, give it to their accounting department, because they're the SOBs that fired everybody. You know,
No, it's probably just like the auto industry. Like I said, if it saves 5 cents for each process, hey, cool. We don't care if people lose their jobs and have to go home to their family and say, we're going to lose a house and everything. They don't care about that. And I don't like a process where you have to twist somebody's arm and make them do the right thing. I'm just saying, what if it was you? What if it, that the person that caused all these people to lose their job because they saved 5 cents? What if it was you having to go home and say, we're going to lose a house, we're going to lose everything. The kids can't go to college.
I remember. Let me tell you the story of when my dad started out working as a typist for Fox in 1956, and I think he got up to Booker before what happened was Cleopatra happened. I see Skywarp went in and out. He got some cool knives, but anyway. He was working at Fox, and then they made Cleopatra with Elizabeth Taylor and Richard Burton. And Cleopatra cost so much money to make that there was no way they could make that much money back in the movie theaters at the time, And so they made Cleopatra, and then they had to, not only did they have to fire everybody, including my dad, who had to get a job selling medical equipment for a while, to hospitals and doctors. You got a job selling medical equipment, because they fired everybody and they sold the back lot of 20th Century Fox, which is now known as Century City. That all used to be the back lot. All of Century City used to be the back lot of 20th Century Fox, and after Cleopatra, but at least that was a reason. They lost a shitload of money because the damn film cost so much fucking money. But that wasn't everybody leaving. That was just, they needed Daryl. That's when Daryl Zanuck came in, and then he made The Longest Day with John Wayne and everybody else. And was in that one, and that's a good gun movie. God, I need to stop ranting about this. We can't save America in one chat. Let's talk about guns and prepping. Marine Corps acronyms. Okay, prepping. I bought a Bowfang radio. I ordered it today. And I had been talking about it, I think in the lobby last night and a few other times. And I posted some hand signals from Step 1 Survival, Sergeant Badass on his YouTube channel, Step 1 Survival. And he had said, just look up the Army hand signals or the Marine Corps hand signals on the internet. And I did. And I said, well, dude, there's 1,330,000 search results for Marine Corps hand signals or military hand signals, and so can you help me figure out which one is good? So he found one. He had one from the Marines training manual or something, and so I posted that on gunchannels.com/prepper, where I try and post a bunch of interesting prepper links. I think there's a contest for a free rifle from Aero Precision, a link in there for that, also that I posted today. But and there's a lot of good stuff on there. There's Sophie Daly's herbalism, how to make tinctures, a herbal playlist, wilderness herbalism playlist for how to make ointments, tinctures, emulsions, all that kind of stuff. But I definitely need to find a prepper's some kind of wilderness herb. I understand how to make the stuff. I just don't know the herbs, so I need to get a reference book on that. But I also bought but what I'm working on right now is communications, because I didn't have any communications preps. I mean, if the cell phones go down, I wouldn't have had anything. So I had to get something. So I got the Bowfang, and I'm going to get a radio technician's license, because if you start broadcasting, you don't have at least a technician's license, you can get fined $2,500 or something. I don't need that big of a fine. So, which I think brings us to anachronisms. You posted some pictures on Gun Channels, and I was trying to guess what they all meant. Marine Air Group, MAG, and MACS.
MCAS.
Oh, MCAS. Okay. Yeah, Marine Combat Air Station or something like that.
Marine Corps Air Station.
Marine Corps Air Station. All right.
Air Station.
And that was all at Pendleton.
Yes, in the middle of Camp Pendleton, there was a small airstrip. I think it started out as an auxiliary landing field, and I was stationed there for a while. I did some training there. They had attack helicopters there and observation planes are called the OV-10 Broncos. And I believe they ended up moving the medium and heavy lift helicopters from Marine Corps Air Station Tustin up in LA. They moved them down to Camp Pendleton because they were building onto the base when I was there. So it's probably expanded because Pendleton is huge. So they got a lot of room to grow.
Yeah, and they shut down El Toro and a few others, I think.
Yep.
Behind the Orange Curtain there in Orange County.
So MCAS Camp Pendleton is actually in the center of MCB Camp Pendleton. MCB stands for Marine Corps Base. So there's a couple different kinds of Marine Corps installations. There's a Marine Corps Air Station, Marine Corps Base. There's a Marine Corps Recruit Depot, of which there's two, MCRD. And there's an MCLB, which is a Marine Corps Logistics Base. There's two of those. And then there's HQ MC, Headquarters Marine Corps. That's in Quantico near Washington, D.C. And then the only other thing I can think of is MCALF, which is a Marine Corps Auxiliary Landing Field. That's a small airstrip near a major air base used for emergency landings or for additional training. There might be some other bases I've never heard of.
So, but you've been out of the Marines and working in the auto industry for quite some time. So, imagine things have changed, since then.
Well, some of the acronyms are the same, and some things are different. I mean, they've changed the camouflage and for the uniforms since I've been out, and now nobody polishes their boots anymore. Things like that. So.
Nobody polishes their boots anymore? Why
everybody
is that?
Everybody wears the suede desert boots now.
Oh, okay.
So
yeah, well,
they get polish.
If they get deployed, into an Asian, rainy, they get deployed to Hawaii, they'll stop wearing desert boots. But anyway, I wanted to reply really quickly. Home Runner in the YouTube external chat wrote, "All the weird elites think they rule the country." I think it's that when you get paid $20 million for doing one film, you really think you're obviously doing something right because somebody just wrote you a check for $20 million just for reading a few lines in a movie and letting them take pictures of you. So it naturally gives you a big head. I mean, I know when I met Brendan Fraser, he was in my studio right after The Mummy because he had got signed onto this film called Monkey Bone, which was terrible, but he'd already signed the contract and they got him for cheap because that's when after the first Mummy blew up, his price went up to $20 million a film. And Brendan Fraser's mistake was he got married when he was making $20 million a film. So when he got divorced, his divorce alimony was based on him making $20 million a film, and he stopped making $20 million a film after the last Mummy movie. I don't think he can get hardly any work anymore, even though he has quite a range. He's got typecast, and so paying his alimony busted him, and he's broke, completely broke. So talk about going from the top to the bottom in one easy move, one bad marriage, but, anyway, back onto guns. Somebody was showing in the lobby a picture of one kind of Glock 1911 hybrid that I thought really sucked last night, and I was like, God, that's the worst gun I've ever seen.
As photoshopped.
Is that what it was? Was it?
I don't know. I don't think there's any hybrid. I think there's a lot of wishful thinking. A lot of people, I've heard scuttlebutt about there being a Glock 1911, but I don't think they're ever gonna.
I like my 1911. I like my Glock, but I don't want my 1911 to be anything like my Glock, and I don't want my Glock to be anything like my 1911. I mean, the thing I don't like about 1911s is I don't even like the damn hand grip safety. I just think it's a pain in the ass. I prefer no safeties like the Glock. Just the trigger, that's good enough. It's like, but they're going to redesign the gun to make me happy. So
I like the way the Glock is built as far as how durable it is. But I have not shot a full-size Glock yet. I shot a compact and I think a subcompact, or they were both compact models. And I have a problem with small guns. They're just not comfortable in my hands. So
I like my Glock 17. You know, I think I
Yeah,
have
and
a
see, I haven't shot a Glock 17. I've held one, but I haven't shot one, and that's what I need to do. I need to go out and shoot something that's full
fun.
size like that.
It's fun.
Well, I can tell you that I don't like small guns. I know they work good for concealed carry, and a lot of people really like them. But the two experiences I've had shooting Glocks were not good, and I don't blame the gun. It's just I just small guns just don't feel right to me.
Yeah, you didn't
Um,
get the particular. You know, you wanted a full size. I understand. That's when I was looking for. You know, I mean, but what happened was I saw Mad Max. He had a Glock 17, so I had to get one. You know, the last
no,
Fury Road. So, but you know, when I got it, I looked at full before I bought the Glock 17. I looked at every other full size 9mm that there was, and I did a whole video on it, how I picked the Glock 17, and it was called it was the I Hate Glocks video that I made. If you want to go listen to it, but I really came down to just, you know, availability of spare parts. It was, I mean, has been around forever. It has been fully developed. You know, it's not like they still have to change it, and they're going to have to change something major in a year because there's something wrong with it. No, it's done. The Glock 17 is in the can. You can get all the spare parts you need. You can get, there's a billion magazines out there. You know, they aren't, you know, still tweaking it. You know, there isn't going to be any protest on the internet about some feature that people like or don't like, and then they'll have to change it. You know, I mean, no, they'll just build a different Glock. So it took me a long time, you know, and I was literally sitting in there. And when I bought the Glock, what was really cool is like I could go to the gun shop, and there was like he had like, you know, I looked through a stack of like 20 different Glocks. I said, this one has a scratch. Bring me out another one. You know, it was literally like I was looking for flaws in it. Now this one doesn't look right. Give me, open up another box. You know, and he had 20 Glock 17 just sitting there. You know, so I could go through 20 of them until I found one that was right. You know, so I mean, what other gun could you do that to? You know,
I don't think I've given it a fair shake because I haven't shot a 17 yet, or any of the other full size models. And I think until I do that, I can't judge. You know, but what feels good to me isn't just, it's not going to feel right to somebody else. Or there's a lot of people don't like heavy guns. I like heavy guns. So it's a matter of preference, but I do think that they're well built. I have heard somebody said on a YouTube video once that you know, if these Glocks are just so great, the whole Glock perfection thing, then why do people right away start changing out parts on them? And I thought that was kind of funny. It was a little ironic, but I think that's just people personalizing them really more so than the Glock's not functioning well. I'd like to see didn't the Austrian armies.
The only thing I changed, put in was the trigger connector bar. That's it.
Oh, this guy was joking around about, you know, people change out the slide, the barrel, the trigger, just everything on it, right? Didn't the Austrian army they're the ones that started off with the Glock 17, right?
I don't know.
I'm wondering if any of those guns ended up for sale surplus. I wouldn't mind getting a surplus. I've seen the police trade-ins, but I don't think those are full-size Glocks. I think those are most of the ones that are out there. I'm not a Glock guy, so I couldn't tell you the difference between, you know, I know a Glock 17, 18, and 19. And then after that, I couldn't tell you what, I know the 43 is really small, but other than that, I don't know, you know, one Glock number from another. I should, as much as I know about guns, I should take the time to learn this stuff. But I think that the police trade-ins I've seen online are the compact models. I don't think they're full size. But I wouldn't mind getting a used one at a cheaper price.
I didn't really care if I saved $100 or not. I was just, you know, this is the gun I want, you know. And I look at my video, how much fun I have shooting it. Glocks and Monsters. I think it was for 2 Halloweens ago. I got it after the, you know, it's just some fun music where there's some primal, there's some like, what kind of rock was it? Some kind of death. It was kind of some kind of zombie rockabilly or something like that. Zombie hellbilly kind of rock, you know, where there's some primal scream on, you know, shooting, you know, getting trigger happy with it. But, you know.
I turned the volume down on it.
You turned the volume down? Oh.
Turn the volume down on it.
Oh, well. But they're fun. I like taking to the range, except I can't do it anymore because they don't let us do that. I mean, I hope Trump gets to office and just kills some of this, especially some of these unconstitutional laws. Like in Hawaii, you need to now they have some law that says you have to pay $75 or $45 or whatever it is to be on some illegal federal Rat Pack list. If you want to buy a gun. And I'm not paying $75 to be on some illegal list. I mean, why? The FBI has to keep the list. Donald Trump could just say, direct the FBI not to keep the list, and then they can't charge us for it, because he says there's going to be no Rat Pack list for the state of Hawaii. So I hope he does that, because I'm not buying another gun in the state of Hawaii until they. I mean, I already have enough to get by, but I'm not paying to be on some illegal. That it violates the 1986 Federal Firearm Owners Protection Act, and so I don't think that he should, that should be one of the things I mean, he's got a lot of shit on his plate as president of the United States, I want him to fix the entertainment industry, the auto industry, the everything industry, and the firearms industry and our gun rights and international relations and kick the shit out of ISIS and help all of our good friends around the world that need it, But
just think about every time you buy a box of ammo that's made in America. Your Glock was made in Georgia, right?
I don't know where the fuck it was made.
It could have been made in Austria, but they also have a plant in Georgia. How many different? I mean, yeah, they're imported guns, and there's nothing wrong with those.
I'm looking at it.
Imported ammo.
It says made in Austria, Glock Inc., Smyrna, Georgia.
Okay, that was made in America. Okay,
even though it says made in Austria.
Oh, it does say made in Austria. Okay,
it says made in Austria, and right underneath it, it says Glock Inc., Smyrna, Georgia.
Maybe they were importing them at the time. I thought that or they make some in Austria and some here. See, once again, I'm not a Glock guy, so I shouldn't speak out of turn, but there is a factory in Georgia. Okay. I mean, there's lots of places where they make shells, they make reload equipment, they make guns, they make parts, they make stocks. So you're keeping Americans working by buying ammo, and buying guns. So. And
I bought my trigger connector from Rock Your Glock, I think it was, and I think that's in America. So I don't know who makes the rocket connector bars, the 3.5 connector bar. And I just put some Battleborn grease on it and threw it in where it was supposed to be, and it works. So I haven't looked back, and then
you should feel good about that. You're keeping America working. You're making America great again.
Hey, yeah, I'm all for that. But yeah, the good way. God, this place, this world. So let's see. I got the new Baofeng radio. I'm going to be studying. I got the technician's license study manual. So I'm going to be studying to get a technician's license and radio technician's license, so I could hit the broadcast button. And what else have I been doing? I'm getting a shipment of some Israeli bandages and an Israeli abdominal pad and some other stuff, medical stuff today, I think.
How small are these radios? How portable are they? How small?
They are very super portable. Yeah, they're like handhelds.
Okay. Are you going to store them in a Faraday cage?
Probably not. I haven't built one yet. I mean, just
get a metal trash can.
I looked at the blast area from if a 5 megaton Chinese Dong Fen nuclear missile, their 5 megatons was targeted at the base in it's a super small, tiny little base up at Pahakaloa, up on the top of Mauna Kea, which is the closest base. It's just like it's a tiny airstrip, and it's basically an artillery range where they go practice sometimes with the Stryker battalions, or they just practice shooting mortars. I've driven by when they're shooting mortars sometimes, but it's basically just a firing range. But if they wanted to target the only base on the island, the military base, and they hit that, Where I live, I'm out of the radiation blast zone, but I am in the thermal heat. So basically, if I was outside, my skin would, melt, but from the heat only. But if I was inside, the building would catch on fire, but there wouldn't be any radiation. Unless it was like a 100 megaton Tsar bomb, which it isn't going to be.
Are you downwind?
Well,
The fallout will get you.
I don't think I am downwind, but yeah, I would be better off up on the volcano, up on Kilauea, And so if I know that there's going to be nuclear attack, I could drive to the south part of the island, which they wouldn't bother with because there's nothing there at all, and I could get out of even the thermal range. But yeah, I'm not. But if you're talking about electromagnetic pulse, though, you're not talking about I'm
not really talking about the EMP from a nuclear blast on a target on one of the islands. I'm talking about an EMP either from space or from a nuke detonated in the atmosphere. I mean,
I could see them doing that over the mainland, but over the Big Island? Are you kidding me? There's nothing here.
What if they missed? What if they missed California and it detonated over Hawaii?
Well, I don't think North Korea has reentry vehicles yet, But yeah, they could just send a sub and sneak some guys on, leave a nuke somewhere, and let it blow up. But there's nothing here on the Big Island to do.
That would make a good movie, but they'd film it in Canada.
Yeah. I think I'll write another screenplay that won't get made on that one.
I was just talking about storing them in there because if you can make a small Faraday cage, or you could use a metal trash can as a small Faraday cage, and if they fit in there, you could throw that and a couple other items in there, and just.
But I have to find a metal trash can that was made in America, and that might be tough.
Oh yeah, you guys probably don't have Rural King down there. That's a chain of stores in the South. They got a lot of American-made stuff. America.
I mean, we have. We don't even. I mean, Hawaii is a place where you have to hire a private. If you don't, either you haul your stuff to the dump yourself, which are called transfer stations, or you hire a private sanitation. There's no public trash pickup. I mean, when I was living out in the country on the Big Island, I always hauled my trash to the transfer station dump myself. But when I got a condo in town, there's Superior Sanitation comes and all I have to do is throw my trash bag into the big metal bin. So I could steal one of those if the shit hits the fan. But as far as building a fare cage for an EMP, I just don't think I would need an EMP. I mean, I might need a radiation suit if the wind was blowing the wrong way here, but more than likely I'll just need to be indoors instead of outdoors. Because I went to that nuclear secrecy map, which is did I ever post that? And I'll have to repost that in the gunchannels.com/prepper. By the way, I want to say hi to Dusty. He's been sitting out there. He joined the panel, and I didn't give him a chance to talk. If he's still with us.
I'm still with you. I just been kind of waiting. You guys have been talking right along, and I don't like to interrupt.
Well, interrupt, please.
Jump in. Jump in. Do you have a nuclear contingency plan, Dusty?
Not really, and I'm probably only about 40 miles from you. So if you have one, I probably should have one.
Okay, here's my nuclear attack contingency plan. Bend over and kiss your ass goodbye. That's my plan. Yeah.
Well,
Battle Creek is still a strong point for one.
Yeah,
I know
Fort Custer. Yeah, the nearest to me is Selfridge International Guard Base, and then north of here, about 2 hours, is Camp Grayling, which is a big Army base for training. It's the National Guard goes there. I think other states go there, and the A-10s from Selfridge, they use the bombing range there. When I go see my in-laws up north, you can hear the Avenger cannons. You can hear the Gatling guns going off. They come flying in, and they're just scraping away. Yeah.
I'll tell you a funny story about Camp Grayling. I
All
got
right, go
scared
ahead.
to death there. I got scared to death there one day. I used to love riding four-wheelers. And we got up north, we got lost, we got on some trails and started riding. And somehow we got into Camp Grayling. We're out there on our four-wheelers, and there's ammunition going off all around us.
Oh, no.
And we figured out fast how to get off of that place.
I take it you didn't have a compass with you when you accidentally rode into the
No.
artillery range practice zone.
He probably rode onto the gunnery range. It probably wasn't the artillery range. It was the aerial gunnery range. That's on the north end of the base. There's a lot of snowmobile trails up there, and it's real easy to get lost out there.
Don't they have a fence or something?
Maybe.
To a fence. But if we'd ever got caught, I'd probably be in jail and they'd have thrown the key away, or we'd have got hit and they wouldn't have worried about us.
What's that red spot on the forest line? You got hit
I'm sure people have accidentally gotten turned around and ended up there before. I mean, I've never heard of it, but yeah, on the north end of the base is where the gunnery range is, and yeah,
which would make sense because we left from Kalkaska, so.
Yeah, well, I have a video I think on there when I went to go buy my shotgun, and I drove by I blew a gasket on my Blazer, and right in front of the artillery range, and I could hear them, dropping mortars, boom, boom, and then as soon as I stopped my car at the side of the road, they stopped like 2 minutes later because I had my cell phone on, and they knew that I was right at the side of the road, and then base security came down to check on me. I mean, they didn't say they were base security, but they were base security. Some guy in a white van that said that had like one thing of toilet paper in there that claimed he just got back from going to Costco from Hilo side just for one thing of toilet paper in a van. Are you kidding me? That's like $100 in gas. No, he was there for base security to find out why he stopped at the side of the military base, there, but up at Puhakaloa. But whatever. All I had was I had my long gun permit and enough money to buy a shotgun. My car couldn't make it over the damn mountain that day, so I had to get a new engine. Yeah, but anyway. So yeah, they have base security here. So you need like they're passing new laws because they occasionally have hunting on the military base. There's a big controversy because of all the depleted uranium rounds that are there, and I was thinking, geez, they should let a bunch of reloaders in there who would be happy to pick up all depleted uranium with proper protection and make bullets with it. I mean, that's not an easy item to come by.
Depleted uranium is not radioactive. It's not radioactive.
Well. People, anyway, they were trying to figure out how to clean up, get it all cleaned up. They were having a public forum on how to clean up all the depleted uranium or whether they should bother on the base because they fired a lot of it there. And I said they should just let some reloaders in there to pick it all up. They would be happy to get all those rounds. And
yeah, I think reforming it into something smaller might require some expensive equipment. Depleted uranium. The reason they use it is its density. It's more dense than lead, and that gives it the armor-piercing capability. I've handled depleted uranium before working on Cobra helicopters. They don't just make it for the 30-millimeter Avenger cannon. They make it for the 20-millimeter as well. And I'm not glowing in the dark. We never wore any special equipment.
Well, the military doesn't always take care of everybody. I mean, they did have people stand up during nuclear tests, to see what would happen to them. But,
That is true. Yeah. Yep. But the first time I handled the stuff.
I know I wouldn't mind paying a little extra money for some depleted uranium, AK ammo, just to have it.
I don't know if it's illegal to own or not. I have no idea, but I just imagine due to the density, it would probably it'd probably be hard to reshape it into, you know, a 308 round or something like that. And I don't know if it'd mess up reload dies, or I'm not about to try it.
Right. Yeah. It'd have to be, you know, well, if you collected it all and sold it to somebody who could do it, you know, had the, you know, engineering know how to get it done.
Yeah.
I know somebody with an engineering company that could figure it out if it was financially worth it, you know.
But they might be doing it in the same way they do lead reclamation at ranges and that sort of thing. Or they might even be able to reclaim it and repurpose it back into ammunition for the aircraft. Who knows? You know, the Department of Defense sells scrap metal all the time.
Yeah, I don't know how it turned out. I know they were having all kinds of meetings about it, and I saw you know, there was a, you know, article in the paper about it, and you know, a link to the military base has a website, and you know, they wanted input from the public and shit like that. And I was like, oh well, you mean I can't just go pick it up and get my friends at Gun Channels to make it into ammo for my, you know, Tavor or AK and shoot it? Or my Glock for that matter. It's a 9mm depleted uranium rounds is what.
That's an interesting concept.
Yeah, well, I'll make do with my flex tips, you know. but
I imagine Obama. I'm sorry, that's a problem. I imagine Obama addressed that also when he made the brass executive order. You know, it used to be you could buy spent military brass as once fired, and he passed an executive order that the military could not sell once fired brass.
Well, I can't wait till January 20th, man. I'm gonna have a fucking barbecue. I think I'm gonna. They're trying to get in the gun shops to throw a big, you know, weenie roast, you know, outside the gun shops. But I mean, you know, Obama wants to shut down Guantanamo Bay, and so I think he wants to release all the prisoners, you know, including like Khalid Sheikh Mohammed, the guy who planned 9/11. I was like, if he wants to release them, okay, but he has to release them from like 30,000 feet without a parachute. You know,
he's supposed to release 9.
Yeah, I would only release them over Trump said, don't worry, I'll release them. You know, take them up and let them do a halo jump over the ocean with no parachute. You know. And then when they hit the ground, it'll be economically, you know, their bodies will be recycled. You know, the fish at the bottom of the ocean will eat whatever is left. You know, I mean, those bottom dwelling fish are God's creatures too, and they get some free food. I mean, that's like, from what I've been hearing, isn't that like almost like Club Med over there at Guantanamo now? They've got like, you know, PlayStations and Korans, and you know, they probably play Call of Duty over there too.
I'm sure that's the way we feel about our prison system. We think everybody has to have. To me, if you're in prison, you should get bread and water, no TV, no nothing.
Yeah, I don't mind if they have a Koran or something, but you know, I mean, if they're going to come back and commit terrorist acts, you know, then just, you know, my idea of releasing them is just release them from a very high altitude and let the chips fall where they may.
But to me, prison should be a punishment for what you've done.
Exactly.
And having a good life is not a punishment.
Well, being in prison is a punishment, you know. I mean, but yeah, they shouldn't have like every convenience neither. So,
are they there as punishment, or are they just being detained so they don't go back into the fight?
I don't know.
Difference.
I don't know what the hell they're there for, but I sure as hell don't want them out.
No, I'd be worried that they'd go right back to fighting,
killing our guys. Yeah. Jesus. So, anybody do any prepping recently? Any of you guys? Of any kind? Buying any?
Reloading.
You'd call a garden.
What's that?
Unless you'd call it gardening and
gardening is prep.
Freezing a bunch of food and having a bunch of. I probably have enough food on hand for a year.
A year? That's a hell of a lot of food, dude. I've been adding slowly, a few cans here, a few freeze-dried bags there, but I mean, a year is a hell of a lot of food. I mean, a nuclear winter would be like 10 years, but I don't think anybody has that much food, hardly. But I don't have a year's worth of food. I could last for a couple of months, maybe. You know,
I farm for a living, and I raise animals, and I also have a large garden. So I kind of have an advantage on as far as that. Rather than sell it, a lot of it I froze. And now, if we ever had a nuclear problem where I lost electricity,
or sunlight and photosynthesis.
I didn't get enough can. I wanted to can a bunch of beef this winter or summer, and I never got that done. But
Yeah, I mean, that when people say, it's really funny because sometimes I listen to go to those Russian YouTube channels and they have like, some cool videos of the Russian special forces fighting ISIS. I'm not going to link them, because, Google will probably get upset or something. But anyway, it's like, that some of them will say, well, U.S. aircraft carrier task forces are pointless because we have these missiles that carry nuclear weapons that can, are like, area, what do they call it? Area denial, but they're basically nuclear weapons. So it's like, dude, you aren't talking about combat. You're talking about planetary mass extinction event. Is what you're talking about, because most people don't have 10 years worth of food, and if they throw enough shit up into the stratosphere, the sunlight won't get through. There will be no photosynthesis. Plants won't grow, and all the animals will die, and then there won't be any food for anybody, So, unless you have 10 years worth of food and can keep somebody from taking it away from you, then you're going to die, because who the hell has 10 years worth of food stored up? Nobody, So all these planetary mass extinction, the combat, that's not combat, launching a nuke at somebody, and so I tell people on those websites, you aren't going to beat the U.S. Navy, in combat, but yeah, you might start World War III or something, but who knows what's going to happen with North Korea and, the whole international situation is getting really crazy. And I don't just mean Russia. I mean, everything.
and then I have to question, if things are really that bad, why do you want to survive for 10 years?
Because I've got enough silver and gold that I can cash it in and live like a king when the markets come back up,
But it's the human will to live.
Yeah, well, there's people that I love and care about that, I want to be around, so it's not necessarily that I'm not afraid of dying at all. Living is the hard part. Living is painful. Living is a pain in the ass. Living, you have to pay bills. Living is a bitch, and but dying is easy. So dying doesn't scare me anymore. But that's just because of my whole personal situation of going through open heart surgery. And the only thing that I was trying to explain, I think after Edge's chat, where I think we were talking about lasers or something. And it went on off. It started on there, and then we kept arguing off air. And it's like, well, you're going to be scared. You're going to if somebody breaks into your house and starts shooting at you, you're going to be scared. Your adrenaline's going to be pumping. And I was like, dude, I already had somebody rip my heart out of my chest, cut my chest open, rewire it and put it back in. The only thing that could possibly scare me is if my surgeon called me up and said he had to go back in there and do it all over again. Because when I knew if I survived the damn operation, then I would be in terrible pain, soul-shattering pain for another 3 months, And I don't want to go through that again. Dying would be easy because I would be unconscious if I died on the operating table, and if I got shot, it wouldn't last for 3 months. It'd just be a sharp pain for a little while. So if somebody broke into my house, if 10 guys broke into my house, I wouldn't be scared. I'd just get fucking trigger happy, and either I'd kill them or they'd kill me. So, I don't mind having a laser on my Tabor. So, anyway, it was like that, it was a really awesome off air, I forget who was on Edge's chat this last Friday. But yeah, it was a more rowdy than usual Edge's chat. We were talking about tactical lights, then we somehow got onto lasers, and then it got really like insane, especially the off air.
Listen
Speaking
to
of
that one.
Well, it was the off air. The off air, it came to like, okay, I got my lasers on a rifle, and he said, well, that's okay to have a laser on a rifle, because I was saying, I go shoot when I shoot my Devore, I shoot to my red dot, but I can see that my laser is exactly where the dot is. So if I ever was just in my house and I know where if the laser is on the target, it'll hit it. So if I don't have time to acquire a target with the red dot, or for some reason I'm just I know the laser is exactly where the dot is in the red dot. It's like that's how I shoot it all the time. But then it was that he said, well, rifles are different than handguns because the handguns move when they're on. It's like who gives a shit? I'm not even going to care because most pistol fights are at a range of like 3 feet or something. I don't need to get a sight picture at 3 feet. I mean, who the hell needs a sight picture at 3 feet? It's just that there's a difference between shooting at the range and actual combat. And so.
And I made a comment.
Go ahead.
Typed it dead. Part of my pistol training was point and shoot. The officer that did my training, he walked right up to me right off the bat and he says, I don't want all your bullets in the same hole. He says, you're going to try my technique. And if you train your eyes and you bring your gun up to where your eyes are, you are going to shoot to where your eyes are. And I didn't believe it, but he taught me how to do it, and he's right. So now I use my eyes for aiming, and I never look at the sights of the gun.
Well, I look at the sights of the gun if I want to shoot paper targets at a range, but that's not combat. I mean, I think the main thing that I've ever learned is you just have to be willing to pull the damn trigger rapidly, and do it quick, grip your gun. And if there's going to be a fight and you can't help it and you can't stop it, then start shooting. I mean, don't be the last guy to pull, be the first one, I mean, there's no points for second place, and it doesn't matter if you have no sight picture needed, I mean, at 3 feet.
Did not want every bullet in the same hole, which is the way I've always shot. I'm kind of, I love shooting the paper, but that instructor did not want them all in the same hole. He said, that's not effective. He said, you want them in a 6-inch circle.
Different instructors have different techniques, different philosophies.
What did they teach you in the Marines?
1 shot, 1 kill.
As a rifleman. What about pistols?
Well, I carried an M9, but
right.
We had an ammo shortage, so I really did not. Yeah. Well, okay. So Air Wing got the M9s last. So these things are brand new. The slides are tight. There's not a scratch on them, and we don't have enough 9mm ammo. The MPs were still carrying 45s on our base because they had ammo for them and that sort of thing. Those things rattled, but they were, they could qualify and practice with them all they wanted. So we had M9s, and they didn't have enough ammo, and it's my first time handling a handgun, and they gave us 45 rounds to practice with and 45 rounds to qualify with. I went UNC, which means I didn't hit the broadside of a barn with it, and they said, okay, good enough. You don't get a badge, but you still get to carry it. So I don't have a pistol badge, but I still carried a pistol.
They said you're on point.
Well, there was a couple times. There was a couple times where I had my
You can't shoot anyway, so.
Yeah, no, there were a couple times where I had to guard ammunition, and I'm all by myself, and it's me and my M9. I've got a 15-round mag in it, but it's not chambered, and then I've got 2 extra 15-round mags. And they said, if you have to shoot somebody, shoot them, but don't, because this is all the ammo we have, so don't. And they weren't kidding. It was real weird. We had tons of 20mm, tons of 50 cal, 7.62 by 51 out the yin yang, but 9 by 19 Luger we just did not have. It was really weird. And I worked in ordnance, so I had access to the ammunition. And it was just really weird just having that shortage of 9mm ammo. And it never occurred to me to go to the PX and buy some, or go out in town to a gun store and buy some, because it was just, I think it was UMC is what we were using. Olin, who's Olin? Is that Remington or United Metallic Cartridge?
I think they're a corporation who bought a bunch of other companies. I've seen their, sponsored by, in museums, they donate some weapons and such, and sponsor some displays at several of the firearms museums around the country.
But even for the rifleman training, it was still one shot, one kill. And they said that, part of it was that Marines have a history of being marksmen, but the other reason was budget. We have the smallest budget, so we can't afford anything less than one shot, one kill. So, and they were serious about that too. So, it's my philosophy. I mean, people do the double taps. I got no problem with that. I mean, if you can get your rounds on target, that's all that really matters. And in a stress situation, you may not be as accurate as you are on qualifying day. That's life.
Yeah, I just don't think that anything could possibly cause me that much stress that it would affect my judgment or my, pulling a trigger if I had to, because I already went through. I already met death one time, and I met the Grim Reaper, and we had a little argument, and I beat him, and I told him to come back in like 50 years or something, and so I just don't think like any human could scare me, if they had a gun or not. It wouldn't. I mean, I'd try and deal with it. I'd try and stop the fight or end the fight, but I don't think
you have a different outlook now. That's all it really comes down to.
Yeah.
And that might affect your ability to fight back in a more positive way.
Yeah, I mean,
you don't have some things hindering you.
Yeah, it's like Doc Holliday's advantage. I mean, he knew he was dying, and he didn't care if he would, And like in that, like John Wayne's one of his last movies, The Shootist. I mean, he wanted to die in that one. He had a death wish because Jimmy Stewart tells him, I would not die. He explains how cancer would kill him if he waited for that to happen. But if I was brave man like you, I would not go out the way I just described death. And so, then he sets up a gunfight where he's hoping to get killed because he doesn't want to die from cancer painfully, in agony. So, but yes, no, I have no death wish or anything. I'd like to live a nice long life.
Hopefully you never have to use them, but just the fact that you have them and you know what to do with them is part of the deterrent. So
yeah, I hope it's a good deterrent. I never want to have to use anything for I think, who was it? Fu said, it's just an expensive paper hole punch and metal ping ringer, my metal steel targets. So that'll be fine with me. But the bad guys get a vote. The bad guys get a vote. That's all there is to it.
I've had more than one person say, if the world's coming to an end, I'm coming to your house. Well, don't, because I don't have enough food for everybody. I got enough guns and ammo for everybody, but that's about it.
Yeah, I know. Food isn't as fun as ammo and guns. I mean, but, I have been stocking up more and more food. Every time I'll buy more canned food, more Mountain House frozen stuff, that is good until 2047, if I live that long. And, I just hope, we don't have I hope all the stuff I'm prepping for, I don't need anything for, but I'm definitely going to be working on radio comms and all those anachronisms that I need to learn some, anachronisms. But I got a ham radio book and the technician's license book, and but I don't know.
You know your phonetic alphabet, right? Alpha, Bravo, Charlie, Delta, et cetera, et cetera.
Well, yeah, if I, I don't use unicorn, it's uniform, stuff like that. But I don't know it all by heart or anything, and I don't know the longs and short Morse. I don't know Morse code by heart. I'd have to print that out, and so if somebody wants to send Morse code over a radio signal to communicate, I have to go look it up, and then I don't know it by heart. Do you?
No, I never learned Morse code. I know SOS is because of how simple it is. It doesn't stand for Save Our Ship. it's the shortest
Save our
three-digit
souls.
cipher you can do or something. No, it has nothing. It doesn't stand for anything. It was the shortest.
Shit on a
easiest-
shingle. Shit on a shingle.
It was the shortest, easiest thing at the time that wasn't being used. So it's dot dash dot or something like that. That's SOS. And because before that they had CQD, which didn't stand for anything either. But it took more effort to type CQD on the Marconi than it did SOS, so they changed it. So it's just one of those things where it was more effective to have something that you could rattle off real quick. So yeah.
But anyway, I will have radio communications prep, so I don't have to. Because the first thing that goes down is the cell towers, and whenever anything goes wrong, the first thing that dies, that loses power, is the cell towers. So.
Oh, I can tell you that for a fact, because in 2003 we had a power outage, and it was part of the East Coast and the Midwest and part of Ontario. Some tree fell on a power line in Ohio, and it took out a whole bunch of states, and this was one of them. Within a matter of minutes, all the cell phones didn't work.
Yeah, and on the Big Island, we had a fiber optic cable get cut, out in the middle of the wilderness somewhere, and it took them forever to find it, and for days, no credit cards, no internet, no cell phones, just because one fiber optic cable got cut.
Wow. Now, is the radio system you're buying? What is it exactly?
It's Baofeng. It's everything. It's UHF. Yeah, it's you get all the police frequencies and everything. So it's broadcast.
So you're required to be licensed then to have
only if I press broadcast. If I broadcast, I need to have a license. At least a technician's license, which isn't that hard to get.
Okay, yeah, but it's about $300 a year because I buy it.
No, it is. Yeah, well, the radio was like, I got a Baofeng 8 basically, and it's like the 5R except it's 8 watts. So
can you use it like a police scanner at all?
Yeah, you can. I mean, I have the internet one, but obviously that won't work if the internet goes down. So I have the Broadcastify internet police scanner. It's on my channel. If you're listening in Hawaii, I actually have the link on my channel, and so I just go to my channel and click on it, and it punches up the local, police. And we have some weird shit happening. Oh, here's something funny. Talking about, Hollywood hypocrites attacking Trump. I was walking. I was doing my heart healthy hike uphill up Henry Street from Kuakini here, where I live, and so I'm walking uphill, and the homeless people live in the bushes. So I'm walking up by one of the homeless camps, and there's this homeless guy ranting and raving about how this woman that he knows should be on some kind of mental medication because she's crazy. While he's sitting there homeless in the bushes, smoking on his ice pipe. Just like fucking hypocrites. And it's just like the in Hollywood. So, I mean, people with glass ice pipes shouldn't throw stones. Neither should $20 million movie actresses. So, anyway, so I have a lot to learn when it comes to radio comms. I'm just glad I finally got something because I hadn't had anything, and I'm trying to be prepared. And I have a ton of ammo and guns, but and I even have more food preps, and so I need to get into some communication. So I'll get my license, and it's just a technician's license. You're spending $300 a year.
And I don't know. I have full radios. I have mobile in my pickup. I have a couple mobile. I have one in my combine.
But do you have a full ham radio license or just a technician's license?
It's basically just wrote as an FM license for these mobile radios.
Oh, right.
And then they threw a wrinkle in a couple years ago where you could not use them analog anymore. So I had to upgrade all my radios to digital radios because they did away with the analog signal. But I think I have 3 mobiles and I have 1 handheld.
This is a handheld. It's the
what kind of wattage is it?
8 watts.
So what kind of mileage does that have?
Not very far unless you have a very good antenna.
Okay, that may be the difference in the licensing too, because my radios had a 25-mile radius.
Ah,
They were professional. I mean, it was, and I don't use them anymore, and I probably will drop that FCC license because now with cell phones, I don't need to contact my tracker.
well, yeah,
My wife could get me with my cell phone.
yeah, but again, if the cell phone towers go down, which they always are the first thing to go in a crisis, in a cyber attack or electrical down, grid down, the cell phone towers go first.
I have some radios which I think are similar to what you're buying that I use for hunting. They have about a half mile to a mile range.
Yeah.
And I have a couple of those that I use with my brother-in-law when we're deer hunting.
There's a guy's YouTube channel that's his comms prepper, and he's like totally over the top into communications preps. And you might want to check his channel out before you make any final decision. And I watched. He's just too over the top for me. I just wanted something, that I could have, to communicate with some other people, if the grid goes down, and possibly set up a, some kind of network, I'm definitely, what I was talking to one of my neighbors at the pool, and he's like, "Oh yeah, because of this name of my channel is Hawaii Volcano Squad." He thought I was running some kind of paramilitary organization. I was like, "No, I'm not running a paramilitary organization. It's just the name of a YouTube channel, dude." And so it's like I don't want to run a paramilitary organization, but and I don't think he was prepped. He had a whole family, and I don't think he didn't even know what kind of gun he owned. So, but he was interested in all that stuff. So I just told him to look at my channel and get back to me later, but, seemed like a nice guy. It's just, I think you have to be able to take care of your family first before you can really, try and set up any kind of prepping, network, so.
Well, and I'm in a different situation too because I live in quite a rural area. It's probably 20 miles for me to go to the nearest town. So,
well, I may be in a town, but it's only Kona, so it's like it's more like I'm like 5,000. I'm 3,000 miles from the nearest continental landmass. Look at it like that. I'm on an island in the middle of the Pacific Ocean, and when the ships stop coming, the whole island will just, go nuts. I mean,
you can't live off of coffee and pineapples forever.
Well, at least I'll have coffee for a while, and it'll be good coffee, not that shitty, U-band shit. I don't want to, face it. I want good Kona coffee for the end of the world, man. I'll definitely need a strong cup of coffee. So yeah, I've been listening to the Broadcastify of all my local radio, and so I went and I found a website with all the police codes, so I know what they are, what the hell they're talking about, but it's cool to know what's going on in your neighborhood. But yeah, I didn't know what all the codes were, so it's like I have the police police radio 10 codes, which pretty much covers everything they'll be talking about.
So what percentage of your food comes from the mainland then?
Most of it, I mean, people are really big into farming here and self-sufficiency, but it's just, the problem is the Jones Act. The Jones Act, that shipping law that they passed in the 1930s is like for cartage. In between any American ports, the law that they passed in 1930 called the Jones Act says that they have to be any cordage, if they ship between American ports, it has to be on a U.S. built ship that's manned by a U.S. Union crew. And there's almost none of those left, and it costs a fortune. And when they grow cattle here, if they want to sell them in America, they have to send them on a 747, live cattle.
Really?
Yes, they do too. But it's easier just to sell them to Canada, But yes, they do. They can't put it on. It costs too much. A regular like shipping, if you want to buy a shipping container, it costs like on any regular ship, it'll cost like $500, to ship it. And if you have to be on a Jones Act certified ship that's made in America with manned by a U.S. Union crew, then that's like $7,500 or $8,000 per container. So everything here costs a hell of a lot more than on the mainland, and we get most of our food from the mainland, and growing stuff here costs a lot of money because, if you live on the west side of the island, okay, you can get free water you get lots of rain, but if you're growing coffee, like on the Kona side, you don't get that much free rain. And so you got to pay for the water, you got to pay people to harvest it, and you got to drive it to market. Running a farm, it's a lot of work, but, there's a lot of other things in Hawaii, but the farmers markets here, especially on the Hilo side, are awesome. You can get anything. You just have to be careful because there's some, they have rat and lungworm, so you have to really wash all your food. And basically, it's a very deadly disease and painful if you get it. And what happens is like the rats defecate and the snails eat the rat feces, and then the snails. It's a waterborne disease that can, if the snails crawl up your the catchment water tanks, because there's a lot of catchment water around here because there's not a lot of county water everywhere up in the country sides. So people have water catchments, and if the snails get in them after they've eaten the rat feces, then it'll get into the water system and it'll stay in there forever. And so quite a few people. I mean, if you look, Wikipedia rat lungworm, it's one of those things you have to wash all your fruit, and lettuce and vegetables, because if the snails get on them, then you could, and if you buy the stuff at the farmer's market, you just have to be very careful to wash everything off. Otherwise, you could be in a world of hurt. And I don't think there's any cure for that either. So, but they have some great farmers markets on the Hilo side, especially. And there's one or two on the Kona side, but the good ones really aren't in Kona. You have to go up into the country, spend a little money on gas to hit a good farmer's market, get fresh, local grown stuff.
I don't even have a $500 profit margin on the steers I raise. If I could make $500 on everyone I raise, I'd be rich.
Well, so you don't. Well, do you? There's this thing here that there's one mobile slaughterhouse guy that runs all the slaughterhouses. So it's like crazy on the whole island. There's one authorized person to be a butcher. Literally, and there's a butcher shop, but there's only one place. You can't bring the cow to the shop. It used to be a Domino's Pizza. Now it's a butcher shop, but he's not the guy with the mobile slaughterhouse. So, and he, you need a permit, and there's one guy on the whole island that's authorized to do it. So
it's funny how a few miles away life can be so different.
Yeah, so let's see. But yeah, of course, if the shit hits the fan, there's obviously, you don't have to worry about the rules or the regs. You see a cow, you kill it and eat it. But
now, do you have any wild game there that, like, if it hit the fan, you could go out and hunt?
Well, there's fish, but I'm not really a fisherman, and I'm afraid to eat the reef fish because of ciguatera. Yeah, there's lots of boar. There's lots of wild pig. Pig hunting is really a big thing here, but most people like to do it with bows and arrows because it's more challenging than with a rifle. But yeah, there's lots of pigs. But doing it I have a hunter's license, but I just use it to get on the state land so I can do target shooting. I don't have a refrigerator big enough, to store all that meat. But there's a lot of boar here that I could hunt, if the shit hits the fan, if I had to. But I can hit what I aim at, and I know some of the habits, but basically there's a ton of them. There's places like infested with wild boar, pretty much. It's not as bad as Texas, I guess, but there's a lot of them up in the jungle, on the volcano, in the cloud rainforests.
Well, and that's like here in Michigan. We have a lot of white-tailed deer, and I normally shoot 1 or 2 deer a year and butcher them. And so, but if it came down to gone hungry or eating, I'd go out and shoot a deer, or I'd go out back and shoot a rabbit. So,
Yep.
And there, I have 200 acres also. So,
oh, that's a nice chunk of land. So, as long as you're not in a nuclear blast zone near a military base that will be targeted.
Well, from talking with Squid there, probably the closest one is Fort Custer, and that would be about 50 miles away. Be a spot right downtown Battle Creek where all our codes was stored, and I don't know if that's still there or not.
I don't know about that. I know that up in Lansing they've got is it anthrax or something? The lab where the government studies it's anthrax or something like that. They study it in case anybody ever uses it against us. That's up in Lansing.
Right, that's about an hour away from me.
And Fort Custer, they were talking about possibly putting in anti-missile missiles there. I think they were. Somebody was talking about maybe trying to get back into the business of having surface-to-air missiles that could intercept incoming warhead. Yeah, something along those lines. I know that stuff kind of went away, but I read an article. And
they want to bring it back. Yeah, I mean, that whole thing was almost just a raid. That was like Reagan said, he wouldn't negotiate away Star Wars because it just made the Russians so paranoid.
It could have worked in theory. It's just given enough time, enough research. But I think Fort Custer is in one of those locations where it's strategically placed. I guess if you're going to shoot down ICBMs coming in, the warheads coming in, you've got to have your stuff placed certain ways. I don't know if it has to do with the launching north-south or how that works, but
the reentry vehicles. Yeah, I don't know.
I would think there would be more of not necessarily a nuclear war type thing, but if there was ever some sort of really bizarre civil unrest or something that was just where
cyber war.
I don't know, something where people didn't have work to go to. Yeah, there was just some sort of major. There are a lot of people who don't know how to survive. More than a day or two, and then there's other people that like the township I live in. There's lots of deer in the township. Now you can't hunt in the township, but if there's no cops or DNR to stop you, I go across the street to my neighbor's yard. There's 3 deer over there all the time, even though we're on a busy street. There's a lot of urban deer and things like that. A lot of fat squirrels, and there's ways to make things work. Lots of fishing. I mean, there's if push comes to shove, you're going to have the people who are willing to put up with living without, and then you're going to have the people that just don't know what to do. But I mean, it's probably not likely that anything like that's going to happen. But it's not bad to be prepared for some of it, or the possibility. I mean, it's not out of the entire realm of possibility, but it's not very likely. But somebody who says it can't happen is wrong. Somebody who says it will happen, they might be wrong. But I mean, I don't think there's a can't.
And I don't know a lot about Fort Custer either. I do know that when my dad died, he was very set on being buried at a military cemetery, and Fort Custer did an awesome job of burying my father.
When did you lose him?
It's been about 10 years ago now, but they made a very good, You know, they put on the gun salute. They made a very nice ceremony for him.
Yeah, I don't even want to imagine my father passing away. He's 83 now, and or no, wait, something like that. I mean, he's getting up there, and it's like, his dog just passed away a couple of days ago. It was like in our video, my MO guard dog video. Rocky passed away. He was a 13-year-old miniature schnauzer, and him and my dad were inseparable. And it was like I used to dog sit once or twice, but so it was like the family dog kind of. And basically, my dad would go for a walk with Rocky 3 times a day, and my dad had a bypass too, and so walking the dog was his exercise. So he's going to wind up having to get another friend, 4-legged friend, but because he needs to go for his walk, a few times a day, just like I was doing today, except I don't have a dog to do it with. But Rocky was a pretty fun miniature schnauzer, and I have a couple videos of him on my channel playing around outside and stuff. But anyway, so.
My father was very military, and that was one request that he had. He wanted to be buried in a military cemetery. Now, myself, I never had any military service. When I graduated high school, we was pretty much pulling out of Vietnam, and by the time Iraq and all these other wars started, I was too old to be really military.
I'm not military, I'm just trigger happy. Is anybody going to buy any new guns this year? I want to switch to something happy like buying guns. not dogs and people who have died, or where I want to be buried.
I've got an etiquette question for you.
Go ahead.
Okay, so last week when we said goodbye off air, you said aloha, and I didn't know what to say, so I said aloha back. Am I allowed to do that? I'm on the mainland. I don't even know if that's correct etiquette.
You have my permission to say aloha whenever you want. Aloha is like shalom. It can mean anything, It's like, have you ever seen Hawaii Five-0? I mean, with the original with Jack Lord. I mean, it can mean hello. It can mean goodbye. It can mean get the fuck out of here. Motherfucker. It can mean anything. It depends how you say it. It can mean love. It can mean love. Literally. So or it can mean hello or goodbye or have a nice day or
I just didn't know if it was improper for somebody from the mainland to say it.
No, it's not. Not if you mean it. Just say it like you mean it. However you mean it. It can mean it's a great day. It can mean isn't this a great day? It just depends how you say it.
And as far as guns, I'm going to a gun show in Indianapolis, Indiana, Saturday. So if I see something I like, it's possible I'll have a new gun.
Okay, what show are you going to? What's the name of the show?
It's the Indie Gun Show. It's probably for our 3-state area, Ohio, Michigan, and Indiana. It's the biggest show that's in this area.
Is there anything in particular you're looking for?
Not really. One problem, since I'm a Michigan resident, I can't buy a handgun. I can buy any long gun I want to.
Correct.
I do have an FFL dealer I can send a handgun to, and he won't charge me. So if I did see a handgun that was I'd probably buy it. I don't know. I have all types of guns. I have anything from pistols to shotguns. So, but I have a different situation than what you was talking about earlier. I have very tiny hands, and so anything double stacked, I can't shoot. So, and that's why you'll see my picture as a car. Cars typically fit me real well. So basically my theory is if you pick up a gun and it's comfortable in your hand, very well. If it's not comfortable, you're never going to shoot it well.
Right. Right. I mean, if that's all you had, if it was a life or death stress situation, anything is better than nothing. But if this is what you take to the range and practice with, or this is what you want to conceal carry, or this is what you hunt with, or this is what you compete with, or something like that, then it should be something that's comfortable.
Yeah, to get comfortable with your guns is good advice.
Normally, that's what I do at a show. If I pick up a gun, and usually by the time I have it raised up, if I like the feel of that in my hand, I'm probably interested in talking to them price. If I pick it up and I don't like it, there's no reason to talk price.
Yeah, see, I've got this grocery list in my head, and if I see it at the show and the price is right, then the next thing I do is go for condition. It's only after I get the thing that I find out if I even like shooting it, which can backfire. But some of the stuff I'm looking for is older stuff. It's not necessarily something new where you can rent it or, in this area, they've got 4 times a year they do an antique arms show, and they've got everything from flintlocks to more lever actions than I've ever seen in my life, to milsurp, all the way up to the Cold War. And I've picked up a couple rifles there. It's more like going to a gun museum, but each time I go, I think about, okay, next time I need to bring more cash because I need this, or I saw this and I didn't have enough for it, or I had a choice between this and this and I picked this, so next time I'm going to get that. And
now, I've went to a lot of shows in Novi, and I think I've also went to a couple in Deer Park.
Yeah, the Novi one's the antique arms. Yep.
I've been to that show then.
Yeah.
And like I said, there's one in Deer Park too every so often. If you go to Michigan gun shows, there's always a listing of their dates. But
yeah, that's true. Yeah, there's that website for it.
What's the website for the Michigan gun shows? In case anybody's listening.
Just Michigan gun shows.
Okay.
Just type
.com.
Yep.
.com. All right. So I'm
Something
thinking
like that. Yeah.
I think I'm going to get ready to close this show out, and maybe we can do a little bit of off air. But hopefully it won't be as crazy as the last one about lasers. I definitely need to look at tomorrow. I'm going to be looking at I saw the Bullpup Forum has a video somebody posted on a Tabor trigger shootout. I don't think I want to spend a lot of money, but somebody did a video comparing the Caselli, the shooting sight, the Timony, and factory triggers. So I'll at least watch it. I don't think I'm going to get convinced to buy a new expensive trigger. I'll stick with my old. The factory one works. It's good enough for me, but I'll look at the video. It's a good resource if you like Bullpups, the Bullpup Forum. They've got just a forum, like one of those standard type of forums, and you could, there's information on every different kind, the schematics, the specs and stuff. Anyway, so thanks for everybody who's been listening through this show. We covered guns, prepping, and all kinds of Hollywood crap and general state of the American economy, I guess. And I can't wait till January 20th. I'm not buying. I keep getting emails from Trump about inaugural shot glasses, inaugural T-shirts, inaugural pretty much everything they're trying to sell before, and you have to buy the inaugural lapel pins, stuff like that. But I'll just be happy to get our Constitution back. I don't need any pins. Hey, if you can throw this video a thumbs up and throw us a subscription, and check out gunchannels.com. It's free to join and no charge, and there's a lot of interesting Second Amendment kind of oriented people on there. So thanks for listening. And if I can figure out how to hit the terminate button. Oh, did you guys see speaking of terminate, did you guys see that I saw that Arnold Schwarzenegger is going to be taking over The Apprentice, and instead of firing people, he's terminating them?
Yeah, I saw that.
All right, which is perfect way to end this show. Go ahead.
So,
Yeah, so that's speaking of firing everybody. All right, thanks for listening. See y'all next week.